What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of ENA. We got time. We got a special guest, Ahmad. Hawkins, you know what I'm saying? Say what's up to the people, man.
What's up, man? What's good with everybody, man? Glad to be, special guest today. Chop with you.
I appreciate that. Finally able to get you. On here. So we just go ahead and get right into it.
All right.
So when college, well, obviously before college, but high school, at what point in time did you say, you know what, I could really make something out of it? Did you play a different position? I know, you made it pro as a corner, but a lot of people they'll play receiver, they'll play another position as well.
Yeah, man, I was a receiver all through high school. I mean, I played some defensive back, but my main success in high school was at wide receiver. In Little League, I was a running back, and flirted with running back when I was playing JV in the 8th grade. And then the best way I could get on the field when I was a freshman, making a varsity team, was at wide receiver, and made some plays, returning kicks as well. So that just springboarded me into just staying at receiver. I dibbled and dabbed with running back and forth. Started some games at running back and was successful. Each game I started at running back in high school, I ran for like 230 yards each time, but I just felt more natural at receiver. I'm a smaller guy, so everybody thought I would be a running back like my dad was, but I just stuck with receiver, man. And I want to say probably like my end of my sophomore year going to my junior years when the light bulb went off, or I could use football as a vehicle to get out of Hampton, Virginia, and possibly make some money doing this. So that's when the light bulb went on for me.
Okay. So you said you played a couple different positions in high school.
Mm-hmm. When
you got to college, well, first off, what made you choose Virginia? Let's get into that first.
Yeah. Sure. It came down to the University of Florida and Virginia, and this is back in 1997. So Florida was just off a current national championship. So they were the national champs. I went down to Florida, visited them, and I was pretty much all set to go to Florida with Coach Steve Spurrier. And my grandmother, Big Mama, who I lived with in middle school and high school, just wanted me to take another visit. And she was like, why don't you take a visit to UVA? It's only 2 hours away from here. I could possibly still be able to come see you play because Gainesville was over 20 hours away from Hampton as far as driving. So went and checked out Virginia. My childhood friend who's older than me, a person I look up to, Aaron Brooks, was the quarterback. Back then you have internet, and I wasn't a kid who really kept tabs on the roster, so I didn't even know Aaron was at UVA. So he was my host. I've been knowing him since I was like 6 years old. So he was just like, "Yo, man, why don't you come up here? I'm gonna be starting the quarterback the next 2 years, your first 2 years if you come here, and it'll be fun playing alongside of you." So I went back home, talked to my grandmother. The following Tuesday, the head coach, George Wells, God rest his soul, who was the current head coach at UVA, he visited me. He did a home visit. And my grandmother loved him, bro. Like, she let him sit on the couch with the plastic, let him go in the guest living room where nobody could be in, and she liked his mood and his vibe and his vision for me as a man, not just on the football field, but just me as a person. And once my big mama approved of him, and she was like, I know you want to go to Florida, but I would love if you went and let Coach Ross be your coach at UVA. And I was like, all right, I'm going to UVA. So the rest is history.
Okay. And just to expand on that a little bit more, a quick side note. LSU, well, I'm from Louisiana, so I'm not a fan, but one of the things, I want to say it's a short film or it's like a documentary that involves Les Miles, Jarvis, Odell, and a couple other guys who made it to the league. And that the story you just told me is pretty much was how he was able to keep so many guys in home, because a lot of people don't realize is certain states have a lot of talent. I want to say they say like California has like the most talent, and then it's like Florida, Texas, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I've heard a lot of stories where a player will have a school in mind, like you said, you have Florida in mind, but being as though Virginia is closer for your people, your family to be able to see more games of you playing, and like you said, the coach comes sit on the sofa, talk to your people, they approve of them, and just that alone can sway a player. So I'm glad that you were able to say that, because I just want to know how long that's been going on. But like you said, that was in the 90s, and what I'm talking about is in 2014.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I mean, and that's important, man. A lot of times, a lot of us want to get away. We feel like we want to get away, but sometimes, man, you don't have to get away to be successful. Like, you could just go 2 hours away. Like, if you got a nearby university that has a good program that you feel like you can elevate to the next level, why don't you be that difference maker versus going to a school that's already established? And that's easier said than done. Like, if you're a top guy and LSU is recruiting you now, or Alabama or Georgia, those top schools, it'll be kind of hard to say, I'm going to just go up the street to Virginia. And that's what we fall into a lot of times in recruiting here, because those big schools get the first dibs. And, luckily my big mama, I respected her foresight and what that university could do for me outside of football. So, if I would have went to Florida, who knows what would have happened, but I know I would have been an outsider. When I went to Virginia, I was known around here, so it was an easier transition.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so obviously you picked Virginia. At what point in time do you switch over from receiver to corner?
Going to my senior year, man. Going to my senior year, I started a couple games my freshman year. Then it was like the 8th game of the season. I tore 2 ligaments, dislocated my right ankle, and I missed all spring. But I rehabbed and I got back, so I started all the games my second year and third year. And we in spring ball, and I just remember like my second year we played against Georgia in the Peach Bowl, and they had Champ Bailey, and Champ Bailey was going both ways. And that's when the first thought in my head was like, shoot, man, I was good at DB in high school. Actually, Florida recruited me to play DB. I left that out. If I went to Florida, I would have been a defensive back. So so I left that out. That I was going to be a DB if I would have went to Florida. Spurrier and them had told me, it was like, we actually want to put you on DB. We like your DB film, but it's good that you could do both. But Virginia always said offense. But so after we played Georgia and we lost, the last expiring seconds to them, going into my third year, I wanted to do both, but I started running track, and it kind of messed up. Was that?
What'd you do in track?
I was a 100-meter guy. I ran the 60 indoors, and then the 60 and the 200, and then the 100 and 200 outdoor. But I could never finish the outdoor season because of spring ball. So that kind of threw a wrench in the plans going into my third year of doing both. So going into my fourth year, once we finished that season, I went up to our head coach, Coach Wells, and I was like, Coach, man, just looking at who we got in the locker room, we kind of thinned that defensive back, because that was like the story. It was like, who's going to replace the defensive backs if we were losing? So I was like, Coach, let me try out some DB. And he kind of looked at me. He's like, but you one of our starting receivers. I was like, we beat that receiver. We got plenty of depth, but I want to help the team. Can I play some defensive back also? He was like, yeah. And so I was like, all right, once, we get into the spring, you'll just work with the DBs in the spring. Well, I had such a good spring that I became basically our top corner, and he was like, you ain't going to do both ways. We just going to keep you you just playing defense. If we need your offense, fine, but we didn't expect you to play as well as you did, and I became, our top corner. I was, third in the ACC in interceptions that year. Well, it was 2 guys tied with 6, and I had 4. So yeah, I was technically third, but you could say second because it was 2 dudes first. But that was a fun year, bro. I just got to show that I was athletic and I could learn quick because I had to relearn how to backpedal. But my coach, Bob Price, who was my position coach, man, used to spend a lot of time with me just working on my technique, understanding that I'm going backwards, not forwards. But I always had a mentality, I'm backpedaling and go forward. And I still have my hands from when I was a receiver. So if I got my hands on the rock, I was plucking it. So the picks I did get, I earned. Like, I take pride. The picks I did get was against Woody Dantzler, who was for the Heisman, Chris Winkie, who won the Heisman for Florida State, Phillip Rivers at NC State, my last ever game at UVA, and at our home stadium was on him. And then the Maryland quarterback, he was the only quarterback that isn't known that I picked off. But those 3 other dudes were legit guys versus a Rod Gardner or a Snoop Menace or a Corn Robinson. All 3 of those dudes went to the NFL. So I took pride in that. When I got picks, it wasn't against no scrubs. It was against legit quarterbacks and receivers.
Okay, quick side note. How did you fare against, when y'all had to play Miami?
We didn't play Miami then. They wasn't in the ACC. They were still in Big East. Okay. So I didn't get an opportunity to play against Miami.
Maybe that worked out for you. But no. So next question: do you think, because this is a double-edged sword? Do you think all those years? I say all those years. Do you think those 3 years of playing pretty much strictly receiver in college helped you for your last year playing DB? Or do you think if you would have just played DB all 4 years, you think it would have helped as much, if not better?
That's a great question, but I never thought of that. That never crossed my mind.
Because you got to think about it. If you're playing receiver for 3 years college ball, I mean, everybody's training staff is different, but in a sense, y'all all run the same type of routes for the most part. Mm-hmm. So you know what, in a sense, to look for when a receiver is going to cut or when he's going to do certain things. But if you play DB the entire time, like you said, backpedaling was something you had to relearn. You would have been more crisp, and that would have went a lot. You would have learned that a lot faster. So which one do you think?
I think, just think about your question, and think about like the scheme that we ran in college. It was like a power eye, and we didn't throw a lot, but when we did throw, we took shots down the field versus the type of defense we ran. I felt like, to be honest with you and transparent, if I would have just came to UVA as a defensive back, like I was going to do to Florida, I probably would have been more successful starting as a defense. Like, I would have been more successful, I think. I just think, because even when I went, and you get to professional ranks, and we can get into that when we transition, but it'll kind of, you'll see why I said that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. So you finish off your last year in college, like you said, picking off some very good quarterbacks, and you finished third in interceptions. What is your mind state going into the NFL draft? Like, what are your expectations, if you have any? What's all going through your mind? Like, just run me through that process.
Yeah. So my main expectation was, like, I knew I switched over late. I knew it was a lot of question marks because I only got 1 year of film. So I wasn't expecting to get drafted until after I worked out. I knew once they put the clock on me, then it'll be some intrigue because I know I could run. So I knew like the combine drills and stuff, I wouldn't have an issue with that. I just needed an opportunity to get into camp. That's all I kept saying. Like, just give me an opportunity. Did I want to get drafted? Absolutely. Everybody wanted to hear their name, but I wasn't really disappointed when my name wasn't called because I was just waiting for my phone to ring for somebody to invite me to camp to sign me as an undrafted free agent. So I sat through the draft. One of my best friends, Michael Vick, was the number 1 pick that year.
Really?
Yeah. So he went to Atlanta, and lo and behold, so funny story is when the 5th round came, the Kansas City Chiefs called me, and we're just small talk like, hey, this is what we're thinking. We really like when you worked out for us, blah, 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 blah. Depending on how the draft go, we could be drafting you, or if anything, we'll be calling you to be, one of our top prior UFAs, undrafted free agents. I was like, all right, cool. And fifth round came around, and they drafted Derek Blaylock, who was a running back. And then I was like, all right, well, they'll probably sign me as an undrafted free agent. So I cut the draft off. So my phone rang. It was a scout for the Falcons. And they was like, we want to sign. Like, they was the first team that called. It was like, we want to sign you for camp. Like, we want to sign you to the roster. Like, not a mini camp, like tryout. Because sometimes they call you and say, we'll give you a mini camp tryout. And then you got to make it to camp. They was like, no, we want to sign you, to camp. It'll be a 3-year deal, pending you make the team. So I was like, okay, well, let me talk to my agent. Well, I was waiting for KC, and then my agent had talked to KC, and Atlanta gave me more of a signing bonus. And then I was like, well, Mike down there. I'm going to just go down there with Mike.
Exactly.
So I chose the Falcons. Had a great camp, bro. Great camp. They the one that gave me my nickname Ball Hawk because they had a write-up about me because I was getting my hands on so many footballs every practice. I was either picking off a couple balls or I was knocking them down. And
like that?
No, I won't pick it off. Oop throw too hard. I was picking off like Chandler and I forgot the third quarterback. But Oop ain't really go at me that much. I call him Oop. That's his nickname from back home. But he didn't go at me that much. Nah. But yeah, man, the first preseason game I was with the first nickel package crew. So 3 receiver set, I was in with the starters. That was crazy. Yeah. That's how good a camp I had in Atlanta, but I learned the business side of it. A receiver they drafted in the 5th round, I ain't going to say his name, but he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. He was partying, and they ended up cutting him. And when they cut him, he was a punt returner. They had to go find another punt returner. Lo and behold, I went from making the team the last day to getting cut the next day because they had to sign a punt returner who was coming from Denver, and he was also a defensive back. And I was last on the total poll, so they cut me. But then a couple of weeks later, KC called, so I ended up on their practice squad for that year, 2001.
Okay, so hold on, before we get there, because I got a double question for you.
Yeah.
Also, all these timelines are running the same. Damn, I got like 3 questions. This is really good. Yeah, we're gonna get into it. So
that's good. So
real quick, and I ask everybody this, everybody who checks out my channel, this is no slight to anybody. This is all personal preference, and this is y'all opinion. I ask everybody this: corner, wide receiver. I just did an interview with a guy in the CFL, and he said Marlon Humphrey, which was understandable, but he played receiver. What wide receiver did you go against in camp that you said was, damn, like he's good? Like, who was the best corner to go against?
The best receiver I went against?
Yeah.
Man, so, yeah. Randy, we had joint practices when I was at KC with Minnesota.
No,
I had to go against Randy.
I'm talking about that.
Oh, in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Dang.
Hey, look, if you're just that good, you can say nobody. Look.
No. I forgot the OG name, man. He wore 81. He was nice for Atlanta. Oh, man. Shucks. I forgot his name, bro. Because when I get this question, I always think about Randy. I always don't think about the Atlanta receivers, which they have some good receivers that year. Damn.
What year was this?
I forgot his name. This is 2001. He was number 81. Dang, I forgot his name. I don't know if it's OJ. I don't think that's OJ Davis. I don't know. What was his name?
Look, I could look it up for you. The starters were Tony Martin.
Nah, Tony was just fast as hell.
And Terrence Matthews, I believe I'm saying his name right.
Terrence Mathis?
Yeah, Mathis. Sorry.
Yeah. T-Mac was nice. He was nice because he was so crafty. The first receiver, then he's just fast as hell. which I didn't have an issue with somebody who was super fast. But Randy Moss was a different speed. But so when I say that, I say it respectfully. But like Martin, he wasn't. I ain't saying I was locking him up, but like as far as gave me problems was Mathis. He gave me issues because he just knew how to run routes, like stem you, hit you with 2 moves at the top of the route, and he was deceptive with his speed. He got to change gears, so that was tough on me.
Okay, now also, who gave you the most? You said Moss when you were in KC, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so now to piggyback off of that, who gave you the most, advice at your position in both places? Like, going through training camp, like who kind of because you knew that, who put that arm around you, like, look, I'm gonna help you out. Look, if you need something, just really try to help you hone your craft and things of that nature.
So in Atlanta, I could say first guy that comes to mind was Derek Vaughn, who was a DB like me, but he was one of the top kick returners in the NFL the year before I got there. He was young. And then you had Ashley Ambrose, who was one. So Ashley Ambrose and Ray Buchanan in Atlanta, both of them put their arms around me, especially Ashley. Like Ashley Ambrose is one of the most genuine dudes that was a starter and was good that I ever met. Well, let me say that because you know what, man? Now that you said that, I was around some good OGs who wasn't haters. Like they genuinely cared about the rook. You know what I'm saying? Those 3 in Atlanta for sure.
And this is this is great dialogue because one of the answers I got previously from somebody else was they said Michael Crabtree, which really kind of blew my mind because the way the media and the way he perceives him as a very cocky individual, but he said the guy would stay with him after practice and all that. So it's always good to ask these questions because it gives a different perspective. Because most of us, well, if not all of us, we don't see what happens, in all these training camps and mini camps, especially back then. Now there's cameras everywhere and things of that nature, but you will never know how some of these guys really interact with their teammates, and you really never know who's really a solid team player. But due to the fact that there's not a lot of media there, and it's not going to make headlines, you really don't know how great of a guy a lot of these people are. So, it's always good to hear different names coming from you guys.
Yeah, man. And then the KC, Ray Crockett, who I still talk to now, the OG, he always gave me a lot of advice. Eric Warfield, like that whole DB room in KC was Shannar Hartz, all those guys in KC. That was a close knit group. Like even though I was on the practice squad, man, they was like my biggest fans, bro. Because I ended up going to NFL Europe after 2001, so the 2002 spring, and
NFL Europe.
Yeah,
I'm not exactly too familiar with that. Could you explain that a little bit if you don't mind?
Yeah, so back in the early 90s, it was called the World League. So the NFL partnered up with Europe and so they created a league overseas. It was like Berlin, Germany, Frankfurt, Rhine, Germany. So Frankfurt, Germany, Rhine. You had Barcelona, Amsterdam, and what's the other Scotland. So those were the what's that 5, 6. Well, anyway, those were the teams. And if you were on an NFL team, like practice squad like myself, or you were a draft pick that didn't get a lot of time, it would send you over to Europe. And then they will also have a combine to where guys would be off the street and would fill in. And then you had your European players that you have had a certain amount. Like the CFL can only have so many Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the World League / NFL Europe, you had to have a certain amount of Europeans or people from that country on your team. You had to have a couple. You know what I'm saying? So I went to Berlin. I was assigned. So when you're assigned, you top priority. So Kansas City sent me to play for the Berlin team. And what that means is once I got there, I was like a number 1 draft pick, meaning I was going to start regardless. I didn't know that But once we got through camp, guys who were veterans are going over there would say, "Oh man," because I remember the cuts. I was like, "Damn, I don't want to get cut." They were like, "Bro, you were signed. You got a patch on your jersey already with your NFL team. Like they not cutting you. You're a starter."
So it's pretty much like in a sense because the roster, you only have so many people. It's kind of like we see a lot of potential in him, but we don't necessarily just want to just have him on a roster, just have him here. We want to actually develop, so we're going to send him somewhere to play so he can
get
hold his
tape.
crack. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
Went to Berlin. You played 10 games. And the first 4 games we lost, and then we won the last 6, got to the World Bowl, played against T. Martin was the starting quarterback for Lion Fire, and we beat them. And I ended up making all NFL Europe. I was second in Europe in interceptions, and had a real good Europe season. So when I came back to KC, man, I was like, yo, I'm gonna make this squad. And I had another good camp, and ended up getting cut. The last cut, man. Dick Vermeil brought me in his office, told me that all the scouts had voted to keep me, but he was the head coach, and he wanted to keep a guy who was a veteran from the Rams that won a championship with him. And he explained the business side of sports and how it worked. But when he was cutting me, I forgot to tell you this. When I was on practice squad, I was doing receiver and defensive back.
Okay.
So I was a scout for both. So he told me when he was releasing me, he said, Ahmad, I'm gonna be honest with you. He was like, you could play in this league. We don't know if you're a receiver or if you're a DB, but you could play in this league. You could get maybe 2 or 3 years, 4 tops, before somebody's going to say, hey, you got to play one position. He said, but you could go to this league called Arena Football League, make a very good living. They pay guys like 6 figures, close to that when you first start off, and you can be a household name because you can do both. And they want guys to play Iron Man football who could play offense, receiver, play defensive back, and return kicks. He was like, that's you. He was like, you could play 8 to 10 years easy. He was like, because he asked me, he was like, what's your dream? I said, I want to be a professional football player. He was like, say it again. I was like, I want to be a professional football player. He said, so does it have to be the NFL? And I looked at him. I was like, what? And that's when he told me about the Arena Football League. I didn't know about it. So he had, I guess, pushed my name to John Elway, who I just became the GM and part owner of a team in Colorado. They called me 2 weeks later, went out there to Colorado, bro, and I played 10 seasons in the Arena Football League, just like Coach Vermeil said, bro.
So quick question. So after you get cut by Kansas City previously, they send you overseas. What is that like? Because like you said, you chose. It's just to go back a little bit. You chose Virginia because not only did your family approve of the coach and what he had in mind for you, but it was closest to home. What was it like being thousands of miles away from that's like, because that's not something to just glide over. Like anytime I talk to anybody who's from the States who's played overseas or played in even the Canadian League, like that's not like moving a couple hours away. You go into a completely different country. You really don't know anybody unless there's players on the roster already that are people. So you're going to pretty much a completely new world. What was that like? Like, because obviously, yes, it's great to know you got a job and there's one where you can play, but what was the environment like, and how did you feel like knowing I'm literally about to travel halfway across the world to play football?
Yeah, it was tough, bro. It was tough. Like when I went to Atlanta, I had an ally in Mike, so I was fine. When I went to KC, I was homesick because I didn't know anybody out there. And the good thing about KC is I never had to purchase like an apartment or anything. They just let me stay in the hotel that's across from the stadiums. Like the Chiefs and the Royals stadiums are beside each other, and you got a big hotel across the street, and they just let me stay there on the house. Like I didn't even have to pay. But when I went to Europe, first of all, I'm going to Berlin. I don't speak German,
Mm-hmm.
They speak very little English. But the one good thing about it is my former college teammate, Dwayne Stoops, had already been on that team before, and he was there again. So he was somebody that I could always just chill around because he knew the area. So he would take me down to the Kudamm, which is like the downtown Germany, where you could get like Jordans for like $60 and stuff like that. So it was like a lot of urban areas that we would hang out in that you couldn't really be there after dark though, because they had like skinheads and stuff down there. It was certain parts of Germany as an African American or just American period.
Yeah. No, I have uncles older than you, and who are in the military, and they've traveled around the world, and I've heard very similar stories.
Yeah, bro. So it could be dangerous, but I tell you what, bro, it was dope. It was like dope going to Barcelona, eating that ice cream and stuff. It was dope going to Amsterdam. I didn't know what a coffee house was, so I thought it was really coffee in there, but it was weed. You know what I'm saying? And it's right beside a police station. So I was like, yo, and then you get the red light district in Amsterdam. Like, these girls standing and not moving. What is that? They're like, yo, that like you could pay. I was like, what? So my mind getting blown away by all these different spots, like Scotland, seeing people with the kilts and stuff, and like it's a great experience. But what we practiced that is what Adolf Hitler trained his soldiers, that was crazy, bro, crazy. And then you realize how big soccer is. Soccer is the sport over there, and they get paid. You know what I'm saying?
But America.
Yeah. So we saying we play football. They looking at us like, oh, football, like soccer. We like, no, football Americana. They're like, oh, sucks for you. You know what I'm saying? But it was cool though, man. But it was tough the first 2 weeks. But like I said, I had my homeboy, and then once he showed me spots we could go to and chill, and we watched. This was back when laptops had the DVD player, so we just watched movies like The Wash and all those movies that came out back then.
Gotcha. All right, so I see you won a World Bowl championship and you won an Arena Bowl championship.
Yeah.
I know it's two totally different championships, but which one do you think? One of them has to mean a little bit. One of them has a little more sentimental value. Which one is it? And if you could explain why.
The Arena Bowl championship meant the most to me because when I first got to Colorado in 2003, we only won 2 games. We were getting smacked. I mean, destroyed. We got a new coach. The following year, we won the top teams, and we lose the game before the Arena Bowl. And then the third year, we had to go through a gauntlet. So that year we won a championship. We played a team called the San Jose SaberCats, was like equivalent to the New England Patriots. They win the championship damn near every year, and we had to play them in the first round. But we had home field advantage. Like, we were the top seed, but we had to play them. You know what I'm saying? So everybody thought we was going to lose because they always win championships. It didn't matter what their seed was. They just knew their bets would just kick in the playoffs and punish cats. So we beat them, like, soundly. Like, it wasn't even close. We smacked them. And then the championship round before the Arena Bowl, we had to play this team called the Chicago Rush, which was our rivals. And they beat us both times that year. Okay. So we was picked as underdogs again. Well, we beat them in overtime on like a Hail Mary throw to my homeboy Andy McCullough. He made a great catch on the offside. It was a free play, and our quarterback just threw it the length of the field damn near, and he plucked it over 2 dudes. So we won that game to go to the Arena Bowl, right? Mm-hmm. The Arena Bowl, we playing against this team called the Georgia Force. They like the greatest show on turf, like the Rams was back in the day. They had to do Chris Jackson, who was nasty. I think Chris might be the receiver coach for the Bears right now. But they threw receivers, all of them went over 1,000 yards. They had to do a young receiver named Troy Bergeron, who was nice. So we were underdogs again, bro. Nobody gave us a shot versus them. But our secondary is one of the best secondaries in the Arena League, but nobody respected us. They just thought because we played a lot of combo zone. We didn't play a lot of men. We played a lot of matchup zones. So people didn't respect us. What's that?
I said I'm assuming you had a lot to do with that, huh?
No, I wasn't even the top DB in the secondary that year. My homeboy Rashad Floyd, who actually owned Heart and Hustle Productions, he do a lot of stuff for Nike. He was the dog. Like, I led the team in interceptions, but he was like the complete dude. He led the whole Arena Football League in tackles. He was one of the top pass breakup guys. He had a couple picks. I was just an opportunistic guy. I gambled a lot. You know what I'm saying? So, but he was that dude. So he was the leader, but I was I was his rider. You know what I'm saying? So we end up just being super physical versus that team, and we beat them. So that's why that means a lot to me, because the 3 teams we played, nobody picked us to beat them, bro. So we was smacking fools, like playing physicals, ripping their helmets off. Like, we was out there going crazy on dudes. But that's why that one mean the most to me, the Arena League. The World Bowl one means a lot, don't get me wrong, but the Arena League, I had to grind 3 years to get to that pinnacle, and we earned that.
Okay. My next question is, at what point in time did you say, all right, you know, I've won these 2 championships. I think it's about time for me to wrap it up. What was the deciding factor in you know, finally, you know, hanging it up? Because at some point everybody has to come to that realization.
Yeah. So the thing that made it, I'll say this, what made it easy for me to retire was the league filed bankruptcy before the 2009 season. We had been in negotiations with the owners to kind of cut back the salaries, scale back on the salaries, because the league wasn't making the money that they thought it would when they increased the salaries, and 5 or 6 guys can make 6 figures. Like, the contract started getting out of hand in a sense, but when you living in it, you like, shoot, we getting this money. That's why I'm always like kind of hesitant when I see the WNBA players saying we deserve more pay, because like, yo, I was in that position too. And then a couple of years later, the owners just pulled the plug. So they pulled the plug in 2009. That year,
or whatever money she wants.
Yeah, that year.
That's another story for another day.
Yeah. They pulled the plug before the 2009 season. When they pulled the plug, I actually went back to UVA and got my degree, because I didn't finish that last year. I just went and started training for the draft. So I went back, finished my degree, and the league came back the next year, but the pay was totally different. The pay was like $600 a game, and you could have 3 market players who can make $1,000 a game. Well, I was making like $5,000-$6,000 a game when I was in my prime. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, yo.
So it's like, man, this pay cut, man, I might as well. I go get a regular job. I might not make as much, but man, it ain't gonna be that much.
Exactly right. So I started looking into the school system, and I was, you know, getting my ranks, trying to become like just an administrator or somebody that just work with kids with behavior issues. And so I didn't play but like 3 games in the 2010 season. 2011 season, the league gets a little bit more money, and now they can pay you like $1,400 to $1,500, certain guys a game. So my coach, who I played for in Nashville one year, hit me up. He was a coach in Georgia. He was like, Hawk, what type of shape you in? I was like, I'm in good enough shape. Like, I hoop all the time, but I ain't been training for football. He was like, look, man, I got a young team. I need you to be our safety defensive specialist. I was like, well, I'm in the school system. And I was like, yo, I ain't leaving this for this 12 to 15 a week for just 16 weeks, because then I got to, like, school systems don't work like that. If I leave, I can't just come right back.
Exactly.
He's like, no. What I want you to do is, I trust you, work out on your own during the week, and we'll have a plane ticket ready for you on Friday, fly down to wherever we playing Saturday or Sunday. And I was like, cool. I was like, do I got to pay for it? He was like, yeah, you'll pay for it, but then we reimburse you as soon as you touch down. I was like, all right. So 2011, I was flying to every game playing. I had like 9 picks, 20 pass breakups, but I was out of shape like hell, bro. I played at like 195 in my prime. I was like 215 pounds. Like,
but still, that's a lot of picks, though. I mean, regardless.
Yeah, I was still getting after it just because a lot of the receivers I was going against were green or the quarterback. They didn't really understand the game like I did. So I knew the angles, I knew formations, and how to anticipate route combinations. So I did that for 2 years, man. And in 2013, the coach was like, "You want to do it again?" I was like, "Nah, I'm good." Because I was like, the 2012 season, it was this kid named Tracy Belton who was getting busy. He was in secondary with me, and he was like a sponge. And I was like giving him all the jewels, all the tricks of the trade. Well, that season, I didn't play a lot of the games. I would skip some games. Like we had to go to Utah or we had to go to Cali. I was like, I won't be back in time for work. Well, any game I didn't play, Tracy would get 2 and 3 picks. So we played Jacksonville in the American Conference Championship. We ended up losing, but my last ever play is like my swan song because I get a pick. I get a pick to give us the last possession, but our offense didn't score, so we lose that game. And I'm in the locker room, and Tracy's like, "Hey, big bro, you coming back next year? We can do this, and that." And I look at him. I said, "Nah, bro, it's your time. I'm done." He's like, "What?" I was like, "Bro, you gonna kill this league. Every game I didn't play, you balled. And even that game, I only played the last quarter. He started all game, and he was balling. He got dinged up, and I had to come in. So So when I retired the next year, and I was checking on Tracy, he was the defensive player of the year. He was first team all AFL. Like he was getting 12 picks, 11 picks. Like he was going crazy, yo. And I just was like, I ain't gonna be one of them old dudes to hold him back because I could have came back and stole, like Mayweather said, I could have stole money for 16 weeks. You know what I'm saying?
They ain't still they giving it.
Yeah. So, but little homie, like I ain't want to like block his blessing, bro. He became one of the best that ever played in his time. Like to me, that's like I always say, like that's my proudest moment of being mature enough to be like, let me step aside and let this young bull eat, and he killed. So the retirement wasn't hard for me, bro, just because the pay wasn't what it was. So I wasn't missing anything. And I got to start my next phase of life and getting in the school system. And while I was doing that, I was starting my broadcast career here at UVA, covering their games and stuff too.
I got a couple, not a couple, but I know one guy who's from Louisiana, a guy named Trevon Reed. He actually played cornerback as well, a couple years younger than you, but he went back to Auburn. He does a show there, and he's on the coaching staff, I believe. He plays corner.
Okay.
How easy is that transition? Not necessarily easy, but like, you know, playing for a school, you know, making it to the NFL, playing different pro leagues, being a champion in different leagues. How easy is it? Because in a sense, I want to use the word easy, but I assume it has to be somewhat easy for you to come back to the same school you went to and be, in a way, a mentor to a lot of the guys on the team and finding a job inside the school, maybe directly or indirectly involved in the team. Like, you know, Ed Reed is like the public person of interest. Look, I'm a Miami fan, but I've never even heard this kind of job title. I don't really know exactly what he does.
Nah, that's the thing. You don't know a job title, you just know he out there.
Yeah, like they said the name of what it is. It's like public person of relations. I don't know what that means, but like I assume for anybody, you don't even have to be on Ed Reed's caliber, but like anybody who makes it, in my opinion, if it was just me, if I'm running a team in college and I have a guy who made it in the NFL, who played in the NFL, who played in the CFL, or like you said, the World League, the Arena League, if any of those guys want to come back, hey, you got a job here, because the knowledge that you have and the things you can tell these guys are things I can't say because I might not have that experience. So how was it for you going back and kind of, you know, I assume, you know, you talk with the guys down at the school. Like, how easy was that transition to you, and how receptive were they when you came back?
So that's a great question. So I would say this: the only thing that makes it easy is the relationships you build while you were here. So when I was a player here, I always talked to the people in the front office. I always talked to our administrators, whether it was athletic director, assistant athletic director, anybody in football operations. Like, for some reason, I always would go up there and chop it up with them. So those same individuals were there when I came back in 2009 to go to school. So when I was finishing my degree up here, I would go into football offices and just talk to them. I didn't really – Al Groh was the coach then, but I didn't know him that well. So it wasn't like I was talking to him. I was talking to the people who pushed the papers and stuff. So when I came back to when I retired and I was in the media – and I wanted access to the players, it was easy for me because they knew me. You know what I'm saying? If I came in, it didn't matter who the head coach was. The people that allow access knew me well, so they would just let me in. So, of course, the head coach was like, who is that? And then I'll say my name. And I had a famous play here at UVA where I have a mural of me on the practice facility. So, my name is, if I say my name, they'll know it because of that play. Not because I was like better than a bunch of people, but I got one of the most decorated plays in a university's history versus our rival in 1998. Had a game winning catch. So if somebody says my name, they're gonna recognize me in that regard. So
weight over that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean that made it easier for me. I'm going to speak for me. You know what I'm saying? But I like to think that my relationship and how I treated folks when I was here as a player helped me personally. So we on a new head coach. Even this new head coach he comes from Clemson, Tony Elliott. Mm-hmm. Even when I went to introduce myself, to hear our current athletic director speak for me to him about me and why he should, connect with me, is because of me having a genuine relationship with her.
But and that speaks volumes about your character. That people will do that. Real quick, I forgot this question in the middle of everything. This is some good dialogue we having. Okay, so you being in Virginia around this time, it's an age-old question, but you lived it. You played sports through this time, so your perspective is going to be better than a lot of people's. I don't know if he said it himself.
Yeah, you talking about Bubba Chuck?
Yep, exactly. Look, I don't know.
Better football than basketball?
No. I was about to get to that. I don't know if he said it, but there are people who have said that if he wanted everything you saw Vic do, he possibly could did it.
Let me see.
Wait, no. Because he played receiver and safety, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he played quarterback. He played quarterback. Yeah. Okay. Chuck played quarterback and safety. He was a hell of a safety. To me, he was a better safety than quarterback. He would have been a safety / kick returner.
Okay. So
and he'll tell you that too. He would have played defensive back in college.
So do you believe with the career he had in the NBA, do you believe he could have had that?
In football?
Yeah.
No. He's special in basketball, bro. He's a trendsetter. He is that dude. Like, I just feel like in football, we got a Dion already. You know what I'm saying? Like, he would have played defensive back. If he would play receiver, we got a Jerry already. Or we got Randy. We got T. Like, it's guys there that I think are too polarizing for him to really have the same lane.
Chad Johnson wasn't there yet.
Yeah, Chad wasn't there. You're right. Yeah. Chad wasn't there, but Chuck. Look, man, Bubba was not like Bubba was nice in football. Don't get me wrong, super nice. Would he been a professional football player? Absolutely, without a doubt. Would he been groundbreaking like he was in basketball though? No, not to me. Like to me, what he doing in the basketball court, bro, at that size, with that toughness, with that athleticism, the universe will make mistakes. He was in the right sport for a reason.
Okay.
Hey, don't get me wrong, he's a football player though. He is. The only reason why he played basketball is because that was his ticket out of jail when
Yeah.
The governor looked out for him, and then
Mm-hmm.
Coach Thompson. He still wanted to play football.
Yeah, but
that's scary, right? Like, he really wanted to play football.
At some point, you got to pick. Because I've heard about the LeBron story, how he was an all-state tight end, and then I think he broke his finger or his hand or something, and he was like, I'm out.
Yeah, LeBron was nice. He was a receiver. He was nice. He wore number 9.
Man, LeBron's just too tall, man. I believe.
You know who was a receiver like he was though? Willie Collinstein? He was a receiver in high school at damn near 7 feet. He was good too.
I mean, who else was? I can't think of the top of my head.
Matt Barnes was a good football player.
I mean, Jimmy Graham played basketball for the
Jimmy.
I mean, we just produce ball players like that.
Jimmy. I mean, I played with Tony Gonzalez, and all he wanted to do was hoop. Every time you give him a chance, Tony Gonzalez trying to hoop.
I got you. All right, so my very, very last question for you.
Okay.
You said, what you're doing at the university is great. You're mentoring the kids and you're doing all that stuff. And you also have your own podcast, The Ball Hawk Show. Real quick, before I give you the floor and tell the people all the endeavors you got going on, what are some choice words of wisdom you will give somebody who's in high school and college and is like, man, I really want to do this? What are some words of wisdom you would give them, or better yet, what would you tell yourself at 16 to 20, that would help motivate you?
Shoot, so I would tell a 16, 17-year-old Ahmad I would tell him, maintain the work ethic that you have, because that's a gift. Never let nobody outwork you. And if somebody's outworking you, don't get discouraged. Match their intensity and match their level. Be a sponge. Understand when it comes to football or any sport that you play, you need to learn the ins and outs. You need to learn the history of the sport. You need to learn the people that came before you, because you're going to appreciate the game that much more. And you'll stay, quote, as they say, humble. But when you're being humble, have that confidence in yourself that you're not going to back down and be second fiddle to no one. And lastly, man, I would say don't let the university just use you. Use the university. Utilize every single resource when you get to college. Every single one. Understand the degree that you're majoring in. Understand what that degree can do for you. Understand that any downtime, you got to make sure that that scholarship is making you money while you're still in school. You know what I'm saying? You just can't be out here just picking classes because they're easy, because you can't play forever. So do those relationships. Don't just hang around sports guys. Hang around regular students, because you never know who you start speaking with that's going to, be that blessing for you later down the road. So that would be my advice.
That's all facts. Man, I hate to cut you off, but real quick side note, the guy who I started ENA with, guy I met in high school, never, we really didn't get along or whatever. Not we didn't like each other, but he was, your typical football player, whatever. So later on, I started working early because I knew I didn't want to play sports. So I'm an electrician. So
okay.
He ended up working at the same place I worked because his uncle worked there. And I was actually the guy who had to train him on the job for the summer he was there.
Nice.
And we got real, real close. So it's funny that you say that, because I would have never assumed that me and him would have got as close as me and him did. So like you said, man, that's true. But so you got the podcast. Go ahead and explain to the people what's going on with that, and let me know, when I come be a special guest for that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you could be a special guest anytime, man. So the Ball Hawk Show podcast, man, that podcast, actually, I'm sorry about my dog barking in the background. It originated because I actually started. I used to host a radio show up here in Charlottesville, and it was similar to the Breakfast Club. I would play music, hip hop, and then when I had my breaks, I would talk sports. Well, that they sold that, and then I started a podcast in 2015, and basically what I do, my main thing is to break down UVA football. So I do recap shows where I look at the film. I pick out 10 offensive players, 10 defensive players to really tap into the eyes of a football player, what we see in the film room and how a play could have been more successful or why it was successful. So my recap shows are a little different than everybody else's, but I do previews, recaps. I have players come on when they graduate, when they're getting ready for the draft. I do interviews like that. And then once football season is over, I used to do UVA basketball, but time constraints, I couldn't do as many episodes. So I'll do NFL games, NBA, recap any of the hot topics, the games, the playoffs. So, but just talk sports, man. It's real laid back. I would say my UVA podcasts are real informative. I don't curse on that because the audience is different. And then when I talk about pro sports, those are uncensored. That's having fun. It's like being in the barbershop with your boys talking trash. My boys that come in and they be cussing each other out, but it's funny, you know what I'm saying? So
when y'all count me in, I want look.
Okay.
We got something for y'all. You know, y'all don't want.
Yeah, that would be dope. Though. You come on with that.
Yeah. TVD. So look.
Yeah.
Count me. Just pencil me in for whenever y'all play, and if you want. We could definitely do that. But
we could do like the preview show and stuff, and then we could recap together. That'd be dope, man.
Hey, yeah. Hey, I've never covered college football on my channel. It's strictly mostly about NFL, but that'd be great, man. I'm definitely down for it. We'll find out the schedule, and we could definitely link back up on that.
Yeah, because I want to say Miami come here finally this year because we've been going down there the past 3 years.
No, it don't matter.
No, we beat y'all here. We just can't beat y'all there.
Y'all need to strike the ball the women, nice weather.
Yeah. You ain't lying.
But, hey, man, look, I appreciate you so much. This probably, I'm not even being biased. This is probably one of my, if this is for sure a top 3 interview for me. Covered. And I just want to say again from the bottom, man, I appreciate you for all your time, bro.
Yeah, appreciate you having me, bro. Anytime, man, let me know. We'll get the spaces going too, man.
All good, man. Much love.
All right, brother. Peace.
All right.